Hey guys, welcome back to my channel again and thank you for joining me again. So first I just want to give a big shout out to everybody who's been enjoying my vlogs recently and the new subscribers. Hi! Thank you for subscribing, and I hope that any future content I do make you enjoy it and you continue to stay subbed. Yeah, I do put a lot of effort into these things just to make sure that you guys get the right information for whatever I'm doing, or just have fun basically. So it's nice to see people appreciating your work. On that note, I hope you've been having a good day. I know it's been all rainy all day on Friday. It's Friday here. Don't know what time or what day it is in your country or wherever you are, but I hope you've had a good time either way. So yeah. So what are we doing today? Well, it's something different, obviously. It's completely different to the past two videos that I've done. Yeah, because one was the Army Mills, and then the other one was the Eartha May kit, aka Catwoman, aka Yzma from Emperor's New Groove, and then I did another one on Buddhaville Cult. So I don't know why it came to me, but I basically thought of a movie I'd seen which is connected to a real life crime story, true story crime, and it stars Charlize Theron. I don't know if I've said that right, but that's how I say it in my way, my accent, whatever. And it's the movie Monster. Now if you've seen this movie and you didn't know it was based on a true story, surprise, it is. Basically the movie portrays this woman, Aileen Wurnous. Aileen Wurnous. Once again, I can't speak the names. And it's a story of her life and how she had so many circumstances in her life happen which caused her to become a serial killer. Yeah, we're gonna look at serial killers. Great, innit? No. But yeah. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. First of all, you know I don't condone violence. I don't condone anybody killing or taking another one's life. I obviously never met this woman. I never interviewed her. I can only go on the literature that I've seen or looked into or read or whatever is online. But the movie by Charlize Theron makes her character or her person, how do I explain it without seeming like I'm being, yeah, but her circumstances in life kind of explain how she became as a person, if that makes any sense. It doesn't defend what she did, but it makes a lot of sense for her state of mind, and we'll get into that. You'll begin to understand what I'm talking about. She had it tough, and I'm not saying that anybody who has a tough time should become a serial killer, but I am saying that if you are that badly treated, it can turn you, if that makes any sense. If you look at a lot of serial killers or people in cults, they've usually turned into a bad person due to their upbringing or what happened when they were young. Again, not an excuse, but it kind of tells you how the pot got stirred basically. So yeah, that being said, that's a really bad introduction, but hey ho, let's get into it. So, ironically, as we're having a leap year, Aileen, for future references I'm going to call her Aileen, because that's how it's spelled to me. Aileen was born Aileen Carol Wurnous. I'm so sorry if I'm butchering these names. She was born in Michigan, Florida on February 29, 1956. Now the main story around the film is obviously how she grew up in a not so great childhood home and eventually became a prostitute during 1989 and 1990, and she is known and has been convicted and given the death sentence for the murders of 7 men that she killed in Florida along the road highways by either stabbing or shooting. Her other names that she has been known as, aliases, are Sandra Kresh, Susan Lynn Blahovec, I think I've said that wrong, Lee Blahovec, Cami Mesh, simply Green, or Laurie Christine Grody. So those were the aliases that she would use to cover her tracks, or so nobody would follow her or find her, yeah, whatever. Now, some brief information which we will get into further later, but just to give you a bit of an outline of what's going on. Her husband was called Louis Gretz Fell, who she did marry in 1976, and if you've seen the movie or know about Aileen, you will know that she later turned towards women and was dating Tyria Moore during 1986 and 1991, who was her last partner, and I believe she only had 1 child, which we'll get into later. Again, I'm going to cover this a bit more fully throughout the video, but basically I've written down these convictions so that I don't get anything wrong and don't want to offend anybody. So the convictions that she had 6 convictions for first degree murder, although there was 7 victims, which I'll explain later. She was convicted on the many different sentences. She was convicted on different dates due to the convictions of different people that she killed, if that makes any sense. So, for example, she had convictions in November 30th, 1989, which is ironically my birth year, November 19, 1990, and her choice of weapon was a high standard revolver, 22 revolver, yeah. She was ultimately caught and jailed January 9, 1991, where the trial began. So, with those little points of information, let's get into a bit about her as a child and her family life. I will warn you from now, it gets very nitty-gritty, and as with any sad story of a child early in the time of their young adulthood, I don't know what I'm trying to say here, as with any person who has been known to become the serial killer later on in life, their early childhood does involve a lot of abuse and a lot of abuse. So just a trigger warning. So I'm not sure what was happening down in the 1950s in Florida, if things were a bit more legal then, or more, what's the word, brushed under the rug kind of thing, or acceptable. But her mother, Aileen Wurnous, was only 14 when she married Aileen's dad, Leo Pittman, who was 18 at the time. Yeah, this was married at 14. Now if you do that these days, yeah, I'm not going to get into it. After 2 years of marriage, Aileen was born when her mum was only age 16. However, in a strange way, in a tiny good way almost, Aileen was known to have never known her dad, and this is mainly because in 1967 Leo Pittman was accused and convicted of kidnapping and a 7-year-old girl. So in a way, I mean, it's not like she stayed away from this kind of thing throughout her life, but having her dad being like that and then not being in her life, I kind of think she had a bit of a break, or a lucky escape, if you want to say. Ironically, whilst in jail, Pittman was diagnosed with schizophrenia, and on January 30th in 1969 he was discovered hanging in his prison cell. He had committed suicide. Things started getting worse for Aileen when she was only 4 years old. In January 1960, her mother abandoned her and left her with her paternal grandparents, who were Laurie and Britty. Tyria Moore, which is pictured here. Now, even though this might sound sad, or I'm not sure how you want to put it, but she basically did her daughter no favours because her grandparents were alcoholics. Aileen also had a brother called Keith, who was born March 14, 1995, and he also was abandoned by his mum to the grandparents. So they were both, him and Aileen lived with their alcoholic grandparents, and then they legally adopted them both March 18, 1960. Now, I'm not sure if this is because of her life already or things that she was going through at the time, which we'll get into very quickly. But Aileen was known to be sexually active already at the age of 11. When she was in school, she was very well known for giving sexual favours in exchange for cigarettes or drugs or even food. And trigger warning, these sexual favours did not stop or did not limit the people that she was with. God, I'm gonna hate saying this. I'll just put it this way. Keith, who was obviously her brother, and her were very, very, very close. Yeah, I'm not going to physically say it because it's going to make me feel sick. And then to make matters even worse, Aileen would later say to whoever would listen to her or explain her reasons for how she was, that her grandfather was also sexually abusing her and beating her. Even to the point where on some occasions he would get her or force her to strip her own clothes off, and then he would rape her or just beat her. So as you can imagine, this is already a really family. Again, I'm not like defending her actions, but when you come from a shit childhood like that and you're going through never-ending negativity, never-ending abuse, never-ending hostility, your mind must be like, and it just gets from bad to worse to worse to worser. Sadly, at the age of 14 in 1970, it's not really specified who the family member was, but she became pregnant by a family member through. So, as you can imagine, she's already had a tough childhood from the age of 4, being abandoned by her mum. Nobody's loved her, she couldn't trust anybody. People just used her. She has been around the worst people already, and her being pregnant and already having a baby at 14 because of a incident, not a great incident, a heinous crime. It's like, how would you even be in that situation? Now, surprisingly, she would be allowed to continue the pregnancy and she would give birth later to a boy. However, the boy would be later put up for adoption. She would have this boy in a home for unwed mothers. This baby was born on March 23, 1971. A few months after this, obviously things got to her and she did drop out of school she just dropped out of school permanently, and then shortly after that her grandma died of liver failure. Now, as much as of a prick her grandfather was, after everything that she was going through, when she was 15, he decided to kick her out the house. Now, because she had no money, she had no job, she had nothing, she was forced to live in the nearby woods of the area that she lived in, and she returned to giving sexual favours for food or money or whatever to survive. Now, she has been known to have a lot of convictions, a lot of arrests. Now, on May 27, 1974, the first of her arrests started to happen. She was only 18 and she was already arrested on a DUI. If you don't know what a DUI is, it's driving under the influence. So like you're intoxicated or drugged up. And this also included a conviction for driving a moving vehicle while shooting a .22 caliber revolver gun. And I don't know how things work in that time, or what, if you get a bench desk ticket, whatever you want to call it, but basically she was also known as a failure to turn up, I think. Failure to appear. So I'm guessing she would have had a bench warrant on her as well for missing her court date. Fast forwarding a bit further, 1970, Aileen hitched a ride to Florida, where she found her first and only husband, who was a 69-year-old man and president of a yacht club called Louis Gretzfeld. She was only aged 20 and he was 69. After a very short span of getting to know each other, they were instantly married, and the story of their wedding, for whatever reason, was printed in the local newspaper. However, due to her nature, and I'm guessing because she was so defensive about protecting herself, she could not stay away from, or could not stop being involved in bar fights, confrontations, and because of this she would eventually be put in prison for the first time ever for assault. Now, bearing in mind she married this Louis guy very young and very quickly, and she was obviously having impulsive outbursts, so eventually she became aggressive to him. Again, this is what is written down. She became aggressive to him, and on one occasion she hit him with his own cane. Again, he was 69, so I'm guessing he was using a cane at some point. So he got a restraining order on her and issued it. Now, it might have been due to this or other issues, but she eventually decided to go back to Michigan, 1976, July 14, and was again arrested at a club called Barney's in Mansalona, in Antic County. I'll let you see it here. And she will be charged with disturbing the peace and assault, and for throwing a cue ball at a bartender. Now, I don't play pool often, and I have done it before. If I remember a cue ball, it's the white ball on the pool table. Now, if you that down the pool table and your finger is at the end and you get caught, it does hurt. So if she threw it at someone's head, yeah, no comment. Now, after this happened, and at some point she must have been released, or I don't know, someone might have bailed her out, it's not quite clear. But basically, again, in a twist of events, which is kind of pro and con for her, her brother did apparently die of esophageal cancer. If you don't know what that is, I'll put that here for you. But Keith had made a very good life choice and had insured his life for $10,000, and had life insurance, or insured his life, whatever you want to call it, for $10,000, which, in a kind heart of his, had left this to Aileen. So she was now a very rich person of $10,000. Now, when I said that her marriage to Louis, the 69-year-old guy, was very short and quick, it must have been the shortest one on record, because it was only 9 weeks into their marriage when all this crap was going down, and then obviously because she had the money to do it, she annulled the marriage. So she was officially divorced July 21. But sadly, this inheritance would be very short-lived and very quickly run through, because later on she was pulled over for drink driving, was charged a $105 fine. So she paid the fine, then suddenly decided that I'm going to spoil myself, which why not? And she decided to start spending her money on luxury items and very nice cars, very good sports cars, on whichever you want to call it, very luxurious cars. However, the car that she did buy, she wrecked. Again, I think it was a car crash, I'm not sure what happened, but she basically ran through the $10,000 that she was left with and became poor and skinned together and broke. Now, again, trigger warning. Obviously, with everything going on in her life, she began to feel desperate, and to the point where, why am I alive? Why am I here? What is the point? I've been through all this misery, I've been through all this torture, nothing good is happening, what's the point? So she has been known, or it was noted and recorded, that she did attempt suicide 6 times. 1978, one of the many that she has been documented is that she shot herself in the stomach. obviously she survived. Sad thing is, from the age of 14 up to 22, she had attempted suicide 6 times. So you can see how, again, this whole start in life, as you might want to call it, has just been negative from the get-go. Again, she's just been handed so much crap to deal with, and yes, some of it on her own issue, some of it her own fault. You know, she decided to make these choices in life, but again, she's not really had the role model, the upbringing, the trust, the loyalty, the good directioning, you know, everything a parent should have been there to do. She didn't have. She had parents, but they were not exactly a great example of life choices. And her issues did not stop there. They continued with her breaking the law. She was arrested again May 20th, 1981 for attempted robbery of her local store. Now this is the most, I'm only going off what I've seen in the movies or what I've seen on the news or, you know, crime stories, but this is the most sad attempt of a robbery of a store. That, again, I don't condone it. She tried to steal $35 and 2 packets of cigarettes, and this was the nail in the coffin again that got her sent to jail. So she was sentenced on May 4th, 1982 for just 13 months, because she was later released June 30th, 1983. Yeah, June 30th, 1983. But she was later arrested again a year later on May 1st, 1984, because she was caught trying to cash fraudulent checks at the bank in Key West. In November 1980, on the 30th of November 1980, she was suspected of stealing a gun in Pasco County, but nothing documented any further on that. So I don't know if she was just, they let her go while they didn't have enough evidence, but yeah. Now hang on, because we're not anywhere near done yet. In 1986, on January 4, she was arrested again for car theft, for resisting arrest, and for obstruction of justice by giving a false name, which is one of the names that I mentioned earlier. She even gave her aunt's name at one point. Now, along with the car theft, she would also put herself in it because the police would find in the car a gun that had been reported stolen, a caliber revolver. And on the 2nd of June 1986, she was suspected of holding a gunman at of holding a man at gunpoint in his own car, demanding that he give her $200. Though she denied it, she would be found with ammo on herself and a .22 caliber pistol. This gun was found under the seat that she claimed she was never in. But although this was a suspicion, nothing ever came of it again. So the case was closed, moved on. Now we're going to move on to her different lifestyle choice. So in 1986, Aileen met Tyria Moore. I'm not sure how you say that. She was 30 years old, and she met her in a gay bar in Daytona Beach. Called Zodiac. Tyria was, I'll call her Moore for now, just so that I don't crucify her name, was a motel maid at the time. Aileen quickly fell for Tyria Moore, and they moved in together, and then that was the point where Aileen suddenly decided to take up prostitution again to support them. Later on, Aileen would be questioned again by the police in 1982, July 4th in Daytona Beach, where her and Moore had both been accused of assaulting a man with a broken beer bottle. And now, in a turn of events that she's normally the one who's been accused, Aileen accused a bus driver on March 12, 1988, to accuse him of assault. Apparently they got into confrontation over something and he pushed her off the bus, which Moore ironically testified to and supported Aileen in this situation. She gave a supporting witness statement. Now, when Aileen has ever talked about Moore, she has said, and I will quote, "It was love beyond imaginable. Earthly words cannot describe how I felt about Tyria." And sadly, it was Tyria that was the nail in the coffin, as you might say, who made a deal with the police to get Aileen to confess to the murders, which we're going to get into in a moment. She did this for a good deal, which was immunity on her behalf for any of the participation she had in any of the crimes, which, despite all that, Aileen still said she loved her, even to the day she was convicted. Now, another trigger warning, I'm going to go into the list of the people that she murdered, how they were murdered, and any background information on the situation. So I'm going to read a document so that I don't get this wrong. Trigger warning, if you do not want to watch this, you can skip ahead, no hard feelings at all. So the first murder, well, but first of all, just to know, all of these men were motorists between the ages of 40 and 65. So the first one was Richard Charles Mallory, age 51. He was an electronics store owner in Clearwater. On November 30th, 1989, which is ironically my birthday year again, Aileen said that in self-defense she had killed him because he had tried to beat her up after driving to an abandoned area for a sexual favour. Aileen has constantly contested and always kept to the story that she did this in self-defense. It was 2 days after the murder. The sheriff of Volusia County found his car. On December 13, the body was found 7 miles away in a wooded area. He was shot 7 times, 2 bullets in his left lung, which was known to be the cause of death. Now, I will mention that, unlike any of the other victims, Mallory has been known and has been, from what I've researched, convicted of kidnapping. He has been convicted of attempted in Maryland. And he was convicted for that. I didn't mention that yet. So I don't know if you were going to say maybe she did the world a favour. I don't know. But what I will say is that even in the movie, again with Charlize Theron, this first guy, he does get quite aggressive with her. And I know that it's all acting, but it's based on what documentation was given, what information was given. He doesn't seem like a nice guy at all. Next victim was David Andrew Spears. Not related to the Spearses at all. Not related to Britney Spears or Jamie Lynn Spears or, at all. He was 47. He was a construction worker in Winter Garden. He went missing on May 19, 1990 and was found in June 1990. His naked body was found along USA's Road 19 or Route 19 in Citrus County. He was shot 6 times by a .28 pistol. Now I'm sorry if I'm saying these gun names wrong, but I don't do guns, so probably I'm saying it wrong. Third victim was Charles Edmund Cascatton. Sorry if I'm really bad with these names. He was 40 years of age. He was a part-time rodeo worker. He was murdered on May 31st, 1980. June 6, 1990, his body was found in Pasco County. He was shot 9 times by .22 caliber. His body was wrapped in an electric blanket and badly decomposed. Yeah. Witnesses did say Aileen was seen in possession of his car and pawned his gun belonging to Cascadden. So that was one link that the police had with her. Peter Abraham Seams, or Seams, was 65 years old. He was a tired seaman merchant. In June 1990, he left Jupiter, Florida for Arkansas. July 4th, 1990, his car was found in Orange Springs, Florida. Moore and Aileen were seen abandoning his car, and Aileen's handprints was found in the interior of the car as well, on the door handle. However, this is we now mentioned earlier that she was convicted of 6 murders. This is the one she was never convicted for because there was no body found. No body, no crime. So sadly, Peter Abraham Seams' family still remain unknown to this day of what happened to him or where he was buried. Troy Eugene Bress, age 50, was a sausage salesman in Ocala, Florida. He went missing on July 31st, 1990. On August 4th, 1990, he was found in wooded areas near State Route 19 in Marion County. He was shot twice. Charles Richard, aka Dick Humphreys, age 56. He was a retired Air Force Marshal, formerly a child abuse state investigator, and former chief of police. He died September 11, 1990. On September 12, in 1990, his body was found in Marion County. He was fully clothed, but he was shot 7 times in the head and torso. His car was found in Suwannee County. Walter Gino Antonio, age 62. He was a truck driver, security guard, and reserve police officer. November 1990, he was found half naked near a remote logging road in Dixie County. He was shot 4 times. 5 days later, his car was found in Brevard County. Now, after July 4th, 1990, and the murder of Peter, the body that was never found, Aileen and Tyria were seen witness leaving the scene of the crime, and a lady called Rhonda Bailey actually gave the description of them to the police because they'd seen them, obviously. The campaign to find these girls was also in the media, and the belongings of Peter were eventually found in many different pawn shops. And the thing that tipped the police off was the fact that Aileen's prints were already in the system due to her record of convictions, so they could instantly get the prints from Peter's car and connect them to Aileen. So, January 9, 1991, Aileen was finally arrested at the Last Resort Biker Bar in Victoria, in Volusia County, due to an outstanding warrant on her previous name, Laurie Grody. She was then imprisoned in Pennsylvania. Now again, I did mention before that it was Tyria Moore, who got the deal of a lifetime with the police to get confession from Aileen. This was done through an arrangement that the police had thought of, where Tyria would make phone calls to Aileen and they would record the conversation and get her to confess the murders. She would be telling Aileen, "You need to help me, they're putting my name in this and they're making me look like I'm the person who's been killing everybody, and if you love me, you will help me." And because Aileen did love her, eventually she did confess to the murders. However, she would still consistently say that they were all in self-defense because the men were trying to, in a very strange way, and I don't really know why or why it is significant, but it has been documented. In November 1991, Aileen was apparently adopted by a 44-year-old woman called Aileen Prale, who just saw Aileen's photo in the newspaper and suddenly decided she wanted to adopt her. I don't even know if there was any point to it because she was already an adult at that point, but maybe she thought that by showing Aileen some love, or that somebody cared, maybe she would turn over a new leaf. I don't know. Now, I promise you we're nearly there. On January 14, 1992, Aileen will go on trial for her first murder of Richard Mallory, or Richard Charles Mallory. Now, normally in a lot of counties you cannot use convictions of previous crimes to support the crime that you are prosecuting the suspect for. However, due to a rule called Williams Rule, which I'll try to invert here, they were able to use her convictions from her previous crimes to show pattern of behaviour and pattern of intent to do these crimes. But ultimately, like I have said, on January 27th, 1992, it was eventually and ultimately Moore's testimony that was the final nail in the coffin. Now, Aileen was given a lot of psychiatrists to obviously check her out due to her instability, and they did say that she was diagnosed with both borderline personality disorder and antisocial personality disorder. I'm not sure if they're the same, but I'll let you know what these are here. And they did say that due to her upbringing and her hard life, she was basically suffering from mental illness and was therefore not fully capable of accepting what she had done. She was not technically at fault for the crime she had committed. They were trying to basically use that as her defence. I think it's usually called defence by mental capacity or defect. Like this, she was 4 days later convicted and sentenced to death. So the appeals just did not work. Even when the psychiatrist in her defence was saying that Richard, the first victim, who was convicted of attempted rape, I think it was, they did bring this up and that he had served a sentence in a maximum security facility, but this didn't have any kind of encouragement for her defence, and like I said, they just ignored it basically. Strangely enough though, even though Aileen tried to continue to appeal her situation and always constantly saying to people that it was done in self-defence, in March of 1992, March 31st, Aileen eventually pleaded no contest to her sentence, which means this. She was also quoted to have said she just wanted to get right with God. And she did say, as I quote, "I wanted to confess to you that Richard Mallory did viciously me, and as I've told you, but the others did not. They only begin to start to." Now, the way they've sentenced her is a bit confusing to me, but basically they did it, it's like they prosecuted her for one victim and then another victim and then another victim, or 3 victims, another 3 victims, another 3 victims. So again, I'm going to look at a document. May 15th, she was sentenced to 3 more death sentences. June 1992, Aileen was pled guilty to killing Edmund. November 1992, she received another 5-year death sentence. February 1993, she was found guilty of murder of Walter. Again, because Peter's body was never found, she was never charged for this. So she did have ultimately 6 death sentences. She would later say as well about the murders that she changed her defence from self-defence to she did it because she was robbing these people and she didn't want them to live, so she killed them so that there was no witnesses. But that was her way of seeing out of it. Yeah, basically, I'm going to rob you and then kill you so that you can't witness or testify to anything, but the body was still found. So now, during Aileen's time in prison, she was quoted, or she was known to have said to whoever would listen, she accused the staff of tainting her food with saliva or urine or dirt, but nobody really listened basically. She was given lethal injection. She was killed by lethal injection in the end. But she declined her very last meal, which all prisoners do get before lethal injection or death sentence. Her last statement was, and again I quote, "Yes, I would just like to say I'm sailing with the rock, and I'll be back like Independence Day with Jesus. June 6th, like the movie, big mothership and all. I'll be back, I'll be back." And then she was pronounced dead at 9:47 a.m. Now, she will always go down as history as the second woman to ever been executed in Florida. The only friend she ever had was called Dawn Botkins, and she was the one who took on Aileen's last wishes, and she was cremated and scattered in Michigan, her hometown.
Just shot in self-defense, boom, boom, boom. You know, they weren't cut up, they weren't sliced up, no OJ jazz, you know. And he said, I did the most horrendous crime in the whole wide world. I guess not. All they were was shot and left. If it was a horrendous crime, why didn't I shoot them between the eyes, cut their penis off, stick it in their mouth, you know, do all kinds of gross stuff. All they were was shot and left, you know?
Watching TV, and she just come out and said, "I have something to tell you." And I asked her what, and she said that she had shot and killed a man that day.
Lee, it sounds like you've been betrayed by everyone.
That's right, I was. That's why I don't care if I'm executed and leave this planet.
Never provoked those guys for killing anyone. I'm not that type of person.
I want to tell you something about her birth. I thought that she got some kind of brain damage.
I defended myself, which everybody has the right to do.
If I could do it all over again, I would have became an outstanding citizen of America who would have either been a police officer, a fire department gal, or a missionary.
I sentence you to death for the murder of David Spears.
I'll be up in heaven while y'all rotting in hell.
Your wife and kids get raped.
My evil happened to come out because of the circumstances.
She's been failed by the legal system.
Cops knew who I was and they covered it up to turn me into a serial killer. They want to turn them into high-profile cases for books and movies.
We're executing a person who's mad. I believe in the death penalty and I have a duty to implement the law.
Aileen, life and death of a serial killer.
Thanks a lot, society, for railroading my hell.
I think I shot twice, as fast as I could.
America's first female serial killer.
I don't care about the money. All I care about is the crooked cops.
Hey, you don't have any secret cameras in your belt, do you?
No, I just have this rather large one right here.
Did you pay them more than $10,000?
When are you gonna pay me?
No.
Okay, I wanted to make sure on that too, because I don't believe them. I have my doubts about Arlene and Steve. I believe that Arlene and Steve are... I have a problem.
I thought one day I could be a big star. I guess you could call me a real romantic. Thanks.
So you came?
Yeah, I was around, I thought I'd swing by.
Men must just line up to be with a girl like you.
I once heard this saying that's always stuck with me. All you need is love, and to believe in yourself.
Hey, lady love, you need a ride?
It doesn't exactly work out that way. I mean, everybody's got to have faith in something.
Can I touch your face? You're just so pretty.
All I had left was love.
So what do we do now?
Whatever. Two more. A girl's waiting over here. I got you now. I got everything going for me. Life is funny.
Girls.
But it's also strange how things can be so different than you think. You know what I always wanted to be? President of the United States.
You okay?
In my life, it's always been the harmless stuff that hurts the most.
So where you headed? Put the cigarette out when you have it.
You don't know me! Whereas the thing's so horrible you can't even imagine it. It's usually a lot easier than you think. Shelby, I've got all used to it, man. I know what I'm doing. And you're never gonna understand it, alright? So you gotta trust me. You never really know until you're the one standing there.
You think nobody's ever got dirty to you before?
I just like to settle first, you know?
Really? Who killed that man?
What do you think?
You can't kill people.
People kill each other every day. I think that all these people just didn't know yet who I was gonna be. But one day, they'd all see.
Now, again, I can't really defend what she did, but it's just her whole upbringing. It's like it questions everything about her situation, about the way she was, her activities, the way she was with her life, and her actions towards other people, her mannerisms towards other people. In the movie, she's dictated to this woman who just wanted to be loved, and she just wanted to survive. Maybe if she'd have been given a better life, maybe she would have done better. I don't know. However, she went through hell and back, let's be honest. And so did the victims. So yeah. On this point, I would like to just say that anybody who does watch this, who does know about these victims or is connected in any way, my heart does go out to you, and obviously I hope that in some way you have had closure, knowing that she was convicted and you've managed to be able to bury your loved one. No person should take someone's life. I'm not going to continue with words because there's just no words that can describe this situation. In some ways, I do hope you had some interest in this video. I do hope you had some interest in what I had to say. And if you are still watching up to now, please do comment down below what you found interesting, what you found chaotic, and anything, any input, or what would like me to do next. Please do like the video, because this was meant with good intentions. It is what it is. So like I said, having said that, please do consider subscribing to my channel, because I do like to entertain you guys, and it's fun to see that everyone can look at something I do and enjoy it and hear me babbling. But yeah, that's all from me for now, so thank you, and I'll see you later. Good night and God bless.